Here we are.
All right, let's get into it.
Episode 1 of TG1F's off-season Sarah J Maas spin-off episodes.
It's really Kate and Nicole do whatever they want.
And we said we're doing podcast
We said,
episodes about our favorite books.
we want to talk about Sarah Janet Maas. We're going to talk about Sarah Janet Maas.
Everyone should want to talk about Sarah J Maas, to be honest.
So
J is for Janet. Got it.
J is for Janet.
That's what her new handle is going to be. It's actually going to be Sarah Janet Maas.
Probably. Very excited. Kate and I have been talking about doing this forever, and we will be joined on each episode by a special guest. So very excited to welcome husband Nick back to the pod. So happy to have you here. I don't think you've been on. Well, I was gonna say I don't think you've been on the pod since you've been husband Nick, but we did the royal wedding episode.
The wedding recap.
Yeah. So you have been a part of the pod since you've had a title change.
Yep.
He was promoted, and we recognized that by inviting him on the show. And now he's back because Nick is joining us.
He's
on
been
the podcast, and also in the cult.
Yeah, putting in the work.
Yep. 6 books, 25 days.
He's cruising.
I have never been so impressed by your work ethic ever than the fact that you read all of the ACOTAR books in what, a week?
A week, yeah, a week and change.
Week and a half, yeah.
Something like that.
And then almost done with both Crescent City books. So, but we're not talking about Crescent City today. For everyone listening, we're going to break these up just in case you have only read 1 or 2 of the series and haven't read all of them. We don't want to give any spoilers, so we'll be doing this episode is about the A Court of Thorns and Roses series, our introduction to Sarah J Maas. So this is a very special one for the two of us,
near and dear to our heart.
And then we'll be doing an episode on Crescent City, an episode on Throne of Glass, and then an episode with just Nicole and I where we kind of dig into the entire catalog of Sarah J Maas's brain.
Mm-hmm.
So
it's a scary place.
Scary place.
I'm afraid of it, but I also want to be in it.
But I need to know more. Yeah, I need to be in there. Yeah, absolutely.
It's like those questions that's like, if you could have dinner with any 3 people, dead or alive, I'm like, Sarah J Maas, Sarah J Maas, Sarah J Maas. Only person I want to have dinner with, because I want to be like, I have so many questions. It's literally giving what's that movie about the kids' cancer? A Fault in Our Stars.
Oh, it's like,
and they use their wish.
Yes.
To go to Amsterdam to meet the author of the book because they have so many questions, and I'm like, that's
it always comes back to Make-A-Wish, doesn't it?
It always does. So anyways, we're here to talk about ACOTAR, and I feel like we can't start this without sharing like our origin story with ACOTAR. And it's that you read the series.
No, I didn't even read the series. I had a friend who I was talking to her. She was a new friend at the time, and she was like showing me her tattoo. And it was 3 mountains and 3 stars. And she was like, it's like for my favorite book series. It has to do with fairies. And I was like, okay. She's like, it's like really good. It's like my favorite book series. And I was like, okay. All right, I was like, whatever, not really my cup of tea, but that's fine. And so
how wrong you were.
And so then, like, you know, many months later, it's the pandemic, and I'm on my Kindle, and I'm trying to, I'm unemployed. I'm trying to figure out what to do with my time, and
As
I
one
get
of
back,
us always is,
and I get back into reading, and so I'm scrolling through like the library app, and I see A Court of Thorns and Roses. And in my brain, I was like, okay, I think this is the book that Mackenzie has the tattoo for. So I texted her and I said, is this the book that you were talking about? And she goes, oh my God, yes, you have to read it. And I said, all right, I got nothing else going on. Like, I'll pick it up. I read the first 3 chapters and I immediately texted the group and I said, everyone needs to read this book. I'm only 3 chapters in and I'm already obsessed. Everyone needs to read the book. Lo and behold, I find out that Silver Flames is coming out in 1 week from the time that I picked up ACOTAR. And I said, it is now my mission to read all of the books so that I can be prepped and ready for when Silver Flames comes out next Tuesday. And then
And
everyone kind of jumped on board, and our
I
lives
don't
have
know how
never
long
been
it
the
took me
same.
to jump on board. I think it was pretty quick.
It took you longer because you were reading the physical books because you didn't want to read on the Kindle, and then you were like
Right.
picking them up from the library. And I
Oh,
think it had
yeah.
been
Oh,
it was already springtime by the time you started reading them.
Yeah.
that's what you were going to the library to rent?
Yeah.
Got
I
it.
was a Boston Public Library member, had my library card, and I was going there. And this is when Nick coined the term Kate has crackhead energy because I had physical books, I had to have a light on to read. And so we'd be up and I'd have a light, my like side light on until like 3 a.m.
Yeah.
because I like couldn't stop reading them.
This wasn't a reading light clipped to her book at 9 o'clock before bedtime. This was
A full sconce on the side of the bed.
a ring light in my face at 3 o'clock in the morning.
I kept it pretty low. I have good eyesight, so I didn't have to like have it on super bright. But anyways, we all jumped on and we're just like all reading at the same time. Like Nicole had obviously finished all of them.
Yeah.
But we all jumped on and there were a bunch of us reading at the same time, and it was like probably the most fun I've ever had like in my life.
Yeah,
ever.
it was really
It was
fun.
like
I want to
jumping on
relive that time
that.
when we were all reading this series at the same time.
It was so fun. Like I would literally anything would happen and I would just hop on the phone and call you and I'd be like, oh my God. Like I would I just would freak out and I would just call you and be like, I fucking know. And you're like, I need you to get to this part so we can discuss these things.
Yeah.
And we would start our conspiracy corner times where we would just like literally discuss theories. And it was
So good.
so much fun.
That I can relate to.
And so Nick has just gone through that experience of reading all of the ACOTAR books, and I feel like I got to read them for the first time again, which was so
Yeah,
nice. And
it's
I
been
reread
really
them.
fun to see your discourse on things.
Thanks.
So I guess I would love to know. So we got some questions from followers, but also like I just kind of want this to be a discussion and fun because like this is literally what we do. Like I hope people don't think that this is like
Special.
a special podcast episode. No, this is literally a conversation. It's just a conversation between Nicole and I and Nick that like would happen
Yeah.
without
We're taking this out of the
microphones.
group chat in onto the internet.
Literally. So we all I think have different orders of how we would rate the 5 books in the A Court of Thorns Roses
Mhm.
series. So like Nicole, what is your ranking?
Number 1, Silver Flames.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll tell you, I know that's a hot take because Nesta is a very divisive character, but I really, really enjoyed the friendship storyline in that book.
Yeah.
I am a Cassian stan until I die. And I really just thought the like mental health and like her story arc was like so beautiful. And I found myself crying like pretty regularly during that book. And it's one that like I actually like go back and reread pretty frequently. And then it's Mist and Fury. I think that's a pretty obvious take. It being so high up on the list. Rhys and Feyre and the whole stay with the High Lord, you're my mate, the whole situation, obviously. ACOWAR, because I think we just learn a lot and I like to see the character development. I'll say Frost and Starlight just because I like a little Christmas Hallmark movie. Why not? And then A Court of Thorns and Roses, just because not that it's bad, I just like all of the other books in the series better.
Yeah, it's hard because you're like, oh, it's the worst one in the series. We're like, but it's so good.
Yeah.
Like people are like, oh, I heard the first one's bad, so I like have to get at least to book 2. And I'm like, it's not bad.
Yeah.
You're gonna love it. You're gonna be obsessed with it. But then once you read all the other ones,
You're gonna be like,
oh,
it
that
makes
wasn't
sense.
The best
And
one.
it's only like 4 hours of your life. It's a morning of your life. It's the Christmas special, the Christmas episode. You nailed it. That's all there is to be said.
We're talking about the first book.
Oh, Jesus. I can't keep up with you guys. Okay.
So my ranking goes Wings and Ruin. I'm a big Wings and Ruin fan.
Okay.
I love the end of Wings and Ruin. Like that is the one. That's the book that gets me crying.
See,
Like
and the end of that book where Cassian is like, "I wish we had more time. I'll find you in every other life." I'm like,
every like the battles begin
yeah,
and I'm crying. Like it is like every piece of it gets me. So Wings and Ruin, and I also I love to find things out. Like I love to know things.
You
I'm
love
too
to know
nosy.
things, yeah.
You know that I am the nosiest person. Like if I don't know something, it's gonna bother me for the rest of my life. So that book is great because you find out like the pieces just come together. And I love a surprise and delight moment. Like I love when they're like, oh my god, like people are coming in and they're saving the day, and it's all, and you're like, oh my god, they came. Huge for me. So Wings and Ruin is my first, Mist and Fury second, and then I'll say Silver Flames, Court of Thorns and Roses, Frost and Starlight last, I think.
Okay.
Just because,
Nick?
like, I like to know things. So
Yeah, that one.
you don't
Yeah.
learn really
Yeah.
anything in Frost and Starlight. That one's just like more fun. So I'll put it last.
I
Yeah.
don't know that we've talked about this, but you and I have the same power rankings.
Nice.
3, 2, 5, 1, 4.
Perfect. That's
But
why
for
you guys
different
are,
reasons,
you
I
guys
think.
are married.
Yeah, for different reasons, though, I think. Like, I like ACOTAR because I think what, like, really tips the scales for me, because 3 and 2 are really neck and neck.
Uh-huh.
But, like, all of the, like, what I could only really describe as, like, monsters, like Bryaxis and the Bone Carver, and just that, like, everyone just kind of
on the same team.
going through it
Yeah.
on the same team.
Yeah.
Thunderdome in the last, like, 10% of the book is
Yeah.
for me.
Yeah.
So,
It's like it is Lord of the Rings: Return of the King.
yes.
Yeah.
It's very much like, you
Yeah.
know, they went and they got the army of the dead.
We're getting the
They're
band
gonna
back
come.
together.
Yeah, they're
like,
gonna come
yeah.
and they're gonna release them after. Like it's big, like culmination.
Crackhead
Yeah.
energy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Everything really comes together, and it's really fun to see all the pieces kind of fall into place after their hard work and politicking. So
Yeah.
I really do like it.
I
Yeah.
also really love a side character. Like I love a kind of like crossover episode. So like
Yeah.
that's my favorite because they go to so many different, like
Yeah.
you just meet like all of the other high lords and all the different courts. And I know in Mist and Fury, like you go to the summer court, but I like that you go to Dawn and you meet Helion and you meet Calais and your favorite, what's her name?
Vivian.
Vivian.
Or
Vivian, yeah,
Nicholas.
Vivian's good people.
Yeah.
At the moment, I would say she's my favorite. Or well, at that moment, she was
Yeah.
my favorite. But
Yeah.
Where does ACOTAR fall for you, Nicole, in your rankings of the 3 series of Sarah J Maas? It's so hard.
It's really
It's
hard.
so hard.
I'm gonna say second, only because it's unfinished right now. And I
That's
think
fair.
it could change depending on how it ends, right? Like Throne of
Mhm.
Glass, for all intents and purposes, is a finished series,
Yeah.
right? So
And
we know how that
kind of
ends.
arguably just like objectively her best work.
Yeah. And so it's like hard to say because it's like, all right, well, and also I like them for different reasons because I
Mhm.
like all of the characters in Throne of Glass and I really love the storyline. But I'm like, okay, well, there's still more happening in ACOTAR and like things could change about how I
Mhm.
feel about the series. So it's like hard for me to rate it.
Yeah.
But
No,
I
it's
think it's really tough because for me it's almost the third.
gun to your head.
I'll have to put it last.
Whoa.
Yeah,
Okay.
I think Crescent City is my first. And then Throne of Glass, but again because it's finished.
Yeah.
And then ACOTAR. But ACOTAR and Throne of Glass are like really neck and neck.
See, I think I would put Throne of Glass first. Like I just like there's nothing better than that series for me. Like I loved it so deeply. I can't wait for that episode for us to do. And then ACOTAR, just because it has a special place in my heart because it was the first one. I feel like it was the first like entryway
It
for
got
me
me out
into
of my
this,
reading
like,
slump, and now I've read like 200 books since then.
yeah, like I think it really like opened my eyes to this whole world that she
Genre.
built.
Yeah.
And then Crescent City, just because there's only 2 books and like I love them, but I also like I'm a big medieval fan. Like,
Yeah.
you give me a gun, I don't want it. Cell phones, I don't want it. So
Which
like
is
Crescent City,
crazy because Crescent City is like true crime and like
I know,
you
I know.
love a true crime
Buddy cop.
series.
I
Yeah.
do love a true crime, but they all have kind of mysteries in them.
Yeah,
So
that's fair.
it's like it's all kind of the same, but I'm like a true fantasy. So I'm like it takes me out the fact that there are like cell phones and guns
No,
in
that's
Crescent City. It
it's
bothers
so
me to
fair.
no end. I'm like, I want torches. I want pitchforks.
Pitchforks.
I
I
want
want Shrek.
bows. I want I want like a bow and arrow. Like I want someone to be like, I'm training to be a warrior with swords and knives. Like I don't want
That's fair.
sharpshooter Bryce. Like that's such a cop out.
Yeah, it's fair.
Ugh,
Easy.
I'm pissed. Okay, sorry.
I don't
That's
it's
like
not really a spoiler.
no, but that's the only thing that
No, you're right.
throws me off. Anyways,
Yeah.
who's your favorite character, Nicole? Or like, give me your top 3.
Okay, top 3.
Mm-hmm.
Nesta, Cassian, and Surreal.
Ooh.
Sorry,
Ooh.
a hearty. Nick, what about you?
In no particular order, or maybe in order of how I met them. Lucian,
Okay.
Cassian,
Mm-hmm.
and Az.
Okay.
Azrael's my number 1.
I mean, I actually, I will say in my like sisters power rankings, Nesta
Mhm.
went from like dead last
Of
to
course.
a strong first place.
Okay. Love to
Uh,
hear that as
I
a
think-
Nesta apologist.
Truly. And I'm on the record saying that already. Feyre, I think, just gets too much play, too much airtime to the point where she starts to irritate me at times.
Yeah. And
You know,
we'll-
and
we'll
not
get-
dramatically, but just yeah, I'm like, all right, I'm tired of this, and
Yeah.
maybe by book 3, I would have liked a few more points of view.
I hear that.
Yeah.
I hear that. Who are outside of Az, who are your other 2 favorite characters?
Okay, so Azrael's my first. It's so hard.
It's
There's
so
like
hard. There's also so many.
characters. I think Lucian might be up there. I just feel like I just love his
I want
friendship
so
with
much for
want so
Lucian. Like
much
I
for
want
him.
I want
so
a
much
Lucian
for
point of
him.
view.
yeah. Um
Well, especially in
And-
book 5 when he's with Jurian and Vasa, like I'm like I need to know more. Like what are you fools
like where are
up
the novellas
to?
about that?
Yeah, like what are you guys
I need
up
like
to?
I need like a Tower of Dawn, but for like Lucian, like what's the same time period?
I need you to know who your dad is.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think my third favorite is I'm gonna say Amryn.
Okay.
Ooh, that's
I
good.
love Amryn.
Yeah, me
I
too.
do love
You
it.
always like she's like one of those characters I feel like that you're always like, what's she gonna say? Like you
Mhm.
never quite know what's gonna come out of her
Yeah.
mouth. And it's like very exciting. Like I
Yeah.
just feel like SJM has like probably like a lot of fun writing for her character.
Yeah.
Um
I'll be honest, I cried when the cereal died. Like that was really
That was-
heartbreaking for me.
that was a tough one.
Yeah.
That was really tough.
He just had all the tea and
I know,
know,
and he was so nice.
he was so nice to Feyre, even though he was like, they were like, watch out for the Suriel, like he's gonna murder you. And then they became an unlikely pair. And I love
because
that.
she was like nice to him and
Yeah.
like kind and wasn't I feel like here's the thing. I think that the reason the Suriel was so much kinder to Feyre than anyone else, especially because Reese was like, I've tried to catch a Suriel and I can't.
Yeah.
But I feel like because the questions that Feyre would like catch him to ask were always like very selfless questions. Like she
Yeah.
wasn't like, what do I need to do for like me to get power? Like what is like it was always like, how do I save Reese? How do
Mhm.
I save Prythian? Like
Mhm.
where's Hybern's army so that like I can save people? Like I feel like it
Yeah.
was always very like he's like, okay, you're like a good person
Yeah.
and you're not just like using me for your own gain.
Well, and
Yeah.
then there was the whole like, I'm gonna save you when the Nagash show up.
Yeah,
Like the
yeah.
first arrow I shot was to save you compared to save my own skin, which I
Right.
think was probably good for that relationship.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A debt was owed at that point.
Yeah.
Well, then, I mean, at that point, the Suriel was just like hanging out. It was like, oh, I'm gonna go find the Suriel,
Yeah.
and he was just like spread eagle in the woods waiting for her. Like, oh, me. So
I mean, the best is like half the times, like she would let him go, and he'd just be like, "I'm not ready to leave yet. I still have more
Want to
things
get
I
a
want to
cup of
tell
coffee
you."
or something?
Yeah.
He's like, "I have more that I want to tell you, so if you could just kindly tie me back up."
So just pretend
Um,
that you still have me captured, and I'll be ready to go.
What book did the? Because at this point they all just
when did it
melt
die?
together. Yeah,
Waste and ruin.
when right,
Mhm.
and then I feel like the like role of the Suriel's replaced by the pronunciation Ouroboros, right? Like that whole like learn more about who you are, like the mirror that she has to look into.
The mirror, yeah, the
I
mirror.
feel like that is kind of the supplement for the Suriel disappearing.
You know,
Does that make sense?
we I don't think we've talked enough about that mirror. Like now that you bring it up, like
Yeah,
she looks into the mirror and then sees this like beast, and then we don't ever really like get to
ever.
hear what she actually saw.
Yeah. She's like, "I was
And why does
crying and I was
Tyr have
laughing and I
that
was
mirror?
scared."
Right. The
Yeah.
description wasn't great either of like
No.
what she actually sees. You know it's ugly, but I
Yeah.
think the good thing about it is that like the reason why other people like didn't really survive looking into it is because they couldn't deal with like the ego death,
Hmm.
kind of like a trip.
As
It,
someone who's done
as
mushrooms
somebody that's
plenty of
had
times, we
as somebody that may have had an ego death or two, I feel like that's kind of
so
the
favorite
difference
of it.
between her experience and everyone else's. But
Yeah.
And
Mhm.
I
I
think
heard that. And she also literally died and
yeah.
came back. So like what else does she have to really fear,
so
I
right?
did
feel like
everybody
also
else.
Yeah.
similar to the Suriel, like she was looking in the mirror not to get something, but to like I don't know. I just feel like the ways that she goes
Mhm.
about things is why it works out for her
I mean,
because
from the
she's not like
beginning, her going into the forest to hunt deer has
yeah,
always been very selfless. So she's
yeah,
always been someone who's cared
puts
deeply
others. Yeah.
about the
She
future of
was meant
others.
to be a
So
high lady, you know?
she was. She was. I'm
Destined.
glad Nick, did you ever look at fan art?
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, are you kidding? I'm deep in book talk right now.
Well, no,
Are you
because
kidding?
I kind of ruined um the surprise that Reese and her get together because I had looked up a thing of for Feyre and I saw a High Lady of the Night Court and I said, "Excuse me?
Yeah, yeah.
Hmm.
I was
Hmm. What's
because
going to
we've been
happen
talking about
there?"
it, and I've been like, I downloaded the books. I had enough of like a paper trail
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
TikTok was all over me, and so
Yeah.
and like I was just I don't think I had faster fingers on TikTok in my whole life, just trying to get past anything that could or should spoil it for
Yeah,
me.
you're like, "Nope, nope, nope."
I don't
Yeah,
want to see it. I don't want to see it. I don't want to see it.
is that going to annoy you?
Yeah, it really is. Like Slack is
Oh.
popping off right now, and it's all I can hear.
Busy guy.
He's so popular.
Don't mind me. I'm going to fix this, and we can chat. Go
All
ahead.
right.
Um.
Who
Okay.
FMK Bat Boys
Oh, I already gave you my answer to this, right?
marrying Cassian,
Interesting.
fucking Azrael, killing Reese.
I'm marrying as fucking Cassie and killing Reese.
I think I'm the same.
I do really love Reese. But the thing is I can't kill Azrael yet because I don't know enough about him. And
Yeah,
if we kill him
exactly.
now, if
I
we kill
also
him
feel like
now, then
he
we
would be
won't
a
get any
really good
answers.
husband because he'd just give you your privacy too.
He's
Like
just
he's not
kind.
and he's just like, I'm gonna
Yeah.
go off in the shadows for a little bit. Like I need
Yeah.
some quiet time, and I'll be like,
Yeah.
great, I need some quiet
I
time
mean,
The
too.
I don't get me
problem
wrong.
is all three Bat Boys are literally a dream. Like all three of
I
them
know.
are perfect.
Yes.
So it's so tough because I'm like, I don't want to kill any of them.
I love Cassian, but Cassian gives like the guy you should date before you find the guy that you marry,
Hmm.
right?
Okay. Why? Say more.
It's just like he gives I wear a backwards base like modern day I wear a backwards baseball cap to the bar. I may leave you on red in the early stages of our relationship.
He gives
I may
fuckboy
ghost
energy.
you and show back up. Like if your truth is that you want to marry him down the line, you're going to be on a break at some point. That's my take
I
on Cassian.
just like I don't get that from Cassian. Look at
Well,
how
you're
hard he tried for Nesta. Just keep reaching out your hand. No way did he ghost her. I just feel like he
No,
just
you're
was
right,
like so
especially with the
dedicated.
gift situations like book
Yeah.
four. solstice gift.
The
And then,
solstice
like,
gifts both times. I just
you
feel
know
like he
what?
is a generous, really just like soft himbo. Like he is someone who like he loves her more than she loves him, and that is a good pairing. And like again, and then with the whole mate thing where he didn't want to tell her, like even though he knew that they were mates because he knew that she had to come to terms on that on her own. Like it was just like he's there for her the entire time.
Except he never stayed to cuddle. He like would throw a towel at her and be like, "All right, I'll see you in the morning."
Because he knew she didn't want that because she pushed him away and he was taking what he could get. And then afterwards, she says, "Stay with me." And he does.
Yeah, well,
I'm just saying, I think I hear what you're saying.
we can agree that they're toxic, though, right? Like, I mean, it doesn't mean that it doesn't like
Work
You think
out.
they're toxic?
Oh, dude, buddy,
This is why Nicole's favorite is
buddy.
Nesta, and her ideal is Cassie, and Nicole's had
Oh,
trauma.
buddy.
I don't think that they're toxic. Why do you think that they're toxic?
We'll let the people vote after they listen.
I think the
Let us know
problem
what you think.
I think the problem is that Nessa truly doesn't believe that she deserves anything good, and she's ruining that for herself. And just because that doesn't mean that it's toxic in the end. She gets
Okay.
there.
No, I agree. Maybe we're just thinking different timelines. Maybe we're saying the same thing.
I think you're classifying Cassian as Hunt. All right, well, we'll have to get the feedback
Yeah,
from people
you're right.
on Cassian and Nessa being toxic because I truly I don't think that's the case at all.
I don't think it ends
I
that
think
way.
they
As
start
someone
out
who's
pretty
actually
toxic.
been in a toxic relationship, not the vibes
Well,
I'm getting.
I think. I mean, at the beginning, I don't
At the
think
beginning,
it's
she's a fucking
I don't. Yeah, I don't think
horrible
it's a hot
person.
take to say that when they start fucking, Nesta's toxic because
Nesta is a horrible person to him.
yeah.
She's so bad for him.
They're toxic because I'm just like, you're literally just you're just hurting yourself
Yeah.
by doing this, but then
He
they
can't
end
quit
up
her. Yeah.
yeah.
It's also hard because they have so much life. You know what I mean? Where it's like,
Mhm.
I just feel like there's enough stories and flashbacks and story from the past that with a 500, 600, 700-year-old being, it's kind of hard to figure out who they are in the moment. So maybe you're
Yeah.
right, but you can't tell me that at some point in that man's life he didn't walk into a bar,
Okay,
his
for
6'8"
sure.
self,
For
backwards hat, like
sure. For
just
sure.
Yeah, I don't know if we can classify them in a relationship as are we thinking about if I'm their mate or who would I rather? Is that what we're
Yeah.
doing?
we're
Okay.
spiraling.
Okay.
We started with Mary fuck kill, and now we're deep.
Anyways, who's are your favorite
That's
side
what we're
character?
supposed to be doing. That's the whole point of this conversation.
Anyways,
What are we on? Favorite courts?
yeah, we have so many questions in here. Do we want to skip around? Do we want to choose
No,
our
I want to know
favorites?
what court that you would want to live in if you were
Dawn.
Want to, or
Yeah.
do you think you should? Because there's your perception of yourself and then who you are, and I think it's two different courts.
Okay, I'm interested to hear what that is for you. And then I would like your read on me as well.
Okay.
Yeah, go
Give me your hand. I would think, or I would like to live in Valaris.
Okay.
So I guess that would technically, sorry, I'm
Night
fidgeting.
court.
Night court. And who I am actually.
An Illyrian.
Oh, thank you.
You're welcome.
That's a nice thing to say.
Is it?
Probably not.
Why?
Oh,
You don't
hey.
think so?
Well, yeah,
No,
I was
I just-
thinking.
yeah.
Well, yeah.
Because you're
you're so right. That's probably not a night. Depends on how you mean
it depends on who. Yeah.
I thought you meant it in a nice way.
I
but
did really mean, but then you were like, "Oh, thanks," and I was like, "Literally, Illyrians have the worst reputation in this book."
No,
But I meant it
Illyrian
in a
I
nice
identify as the one in the cave at the end of Silver Flames that make sure that
Nesta is safe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would probably. I think I'd end up being Summer Court. I think that's who I am really.
Okay. So this is your sun sign and your moon.
Yeah, and rising.
You're so right for that.
You're a night court rising and a summer court.
Yeah, I identify as Summer Court, but I'm aspirationally Illyrian.
Okay. Personally, I think that I would really like to live in the fall court. Vibes would be immaculate. I
Mhm.
just love fall. I think it would be a beautiful place to live. Um, or day court.
I think ideally I would like to live in the Dawn Court, just like obsessed with the description.
Mhm.
I don't know where I would be. I don't know where I would belong. Maybe Dawn. I don't know.
Oh, do you want to know our opinions?
Yeah, kind of.
Nicole?
Nicole asked for your read on her.
I'll read Nicole. Nicole can read you.
Okay.
Nicole, read me.
You know what? I will say Dawn or Summer as well, just because I think you just give off this very warm light, and you just make me feel warm and happy, and I feel like those
Oh.
courts represent that. So I think that that's kind of where you would end up being.
Buddy. You're so
That was really
nice.
sweet. I'm reading Nicole.
Yeah,
Right?
I know. So I'm saying, read
Nicole and I are the same. So Nicole is also going to live in Valeris
You're right.
Perfect.
in the same townhouse. It's going to be great.
Yeah.
She's painting with Feyre.
Yeah.
Oh,
It's
yeah,
so
watercolors.
true. Yeah, I'm
You're a
co-hosting.
better artist. You're a
I'm
better
co-hosting Paint Class with Vega. She's doing oils and acrylics, and I'm doing watercolors.
Obviously, yeah.
Yeah.
She's doing finger painting, and you're doing charcoal sketches.
Who are some of your favorite side characters? I know Nick loves Vivian.
Vivian.
Nick
Mhm.
loves Vivian. But are there any other like side characters that you wish that we saw more in the, or like got more of?
Alice.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Alice is a favorite.
I'm like, why did we never follow up on Alice? Why did we never get an update?
Where is
Summer.
Alice? Is her family okay? What's going on?
Can we get a war update, please?
Yeah, like, hello.
And I'll be honest, Jurian. Like I'm hoping in
100%.
the next book, like again, I already said like Vasa and Jurian and Lucian, like their story, like I want to know more
So
about
much
them.
more.
He
Yeah.
came back to life, and then I feel like we really didn't hear
No one
much
was even
from
like,
him.
what was that like?
Are you okay?
Like everyone was just like, he
Like,
must be evil, and
what?
I'm like, my guys, like if
Mhm.
anyone's ever gonna turn to the right side, it's being held prisoner by that bitch.
This
Like,
was
what do you
this
mean?
was before men could talk about mental health. You were an eye for 100
was-
years. How
yeah.
long? 500 years? How
Yeah.
long?
500, I
50
think.
years? No,
It's
50
So
50
years.
years.
too
You were an eye.
long.
Too long.
Any
49,
amount
I
of
think,
time as just being an eye is too long.
49 years of being an eye in a ring, and you are a good person. Like you ended up doing good people shit.
I
Tough.
mean,
Just saying.
I would too. I'd be like, I have repented for my
Honestly,
sins.
I think it was 500 years because it was after the last battle, not just
Oh,
Not
once
just
you're
the
right.
mountain
Atlanta.
happened.
You're
I think it was
Yeah.
like 500 years.
Yeah,
You're right.
I don't know.
Tough luck for him. That he was horrible.
And again, not a side character, but Azrael. Like we need to know more about Azrael's style.
It's so crazy because I'm like, he is a main character, but we know nothing, and I'm
We
like,
know
"That's
nothing.
What did they call her? The Golden Queen? Speaking of side characters.
Vasa."
Vasa.
Yeah.
Wait. No,
Oh,
not
the
Vasa,
Golden
the one that they
Queen.
string up and kill. When they attack Valeris, they being Hybern.
The one that gives them the second half of the book.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
like praise the human.
Yeah, I
She's
don't
a really good
it's
side character.
Brialyn is the bad one.
Right.
Vasa
I think they
is
just called her the
Golden
Golden
Queen.
Queen.
Because
Yeah.
Vasa is the Firebird, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I haven't put that together yet. Just the Firebird connection. Like I didn't realize that she was a Firebird, and maybe that's just a comprehension thing for me right now. But good, never mind.
Yeah.
Firebird is literally
Maybe-
her
I don't know. Firebird is because she's the one who's
put under a
trapped
spell by
by
Koshi.
Right.
Koshi. Yeah, right. And so
She just
she's
turns
like,
into a bird
Got
of
it.
fire.
Never mind. Getting too far ahead of myself.
Yeah.
Not even the same book series.
Yep.
Side characters.
Yeah, I'm trying to think.
Oh, the Bone Carver,
Mhm.
Ryaxis,
Did he die? What happened to him?
The Bone
I-
Carver?
Yeah.
Bone Carver dies.
dead.
Okay.
So did the Weaver, who is
Yep.
also lit.
Yeah, Briaxis is just MIA.
You know who else? We also in the prison, Lanthius or whatever. I feel like he's talked a lot about, and then like in that moment in the prison, like I want to know more about his background and like where he
Yeah.
came from and like how he got put in the prison, because Cassian obviously put him in the prison, but like how did that happen? Like
He trapped him in an ash
in the
mirror
Ashmere, but like why? Like what was he doing
What did he do?
before?
because
What's
he was
going
a death
on?
god, dude. He was
What's
just killing
going on with the
everyone.
Wild Hunt? Like I feel like there's just
The
more there
Wild
that
Hunt, I want to know so much more
Let's hold
about.
that thought because I have Wild Hunt conspiracy
Oh,
theories.
okay.
Yeah, he
I'm
does.
intrigued.
Okay, red flags are the main characters. People want to know.
Oh God.
Well, I mean, obviously Nesta is a huge bitch. Takes one to know one. I get it. I think
Reese is like what women want. You get, the Mel Gibson movie where
mhm,
like you can just walk around and know everybody's and hear everybody's thoughts. Like
mhm,
that's a red flag. Get out of my brain. Stay out of my brain.
that's fair.
Yeah.
I also think Reese is like too secretive. Like he
Yeah.
keeps too many things a secret from everyone, and like I don't like
Yeah.
that.
Part of my conspiracy theory.
Okay, intrigued.
I don't know
Elaine
what
is too
one.
meek right now, and that pisses
Yes.
me off. She can't make a
Yeah.
decision to save her fucking life.
No.
And she doesn't bring anything to the
Brings
table.
Sedated.
nothing to the table right now,
And
and
you
I'm
want to know
hoping
what
things change.
you
And
want to know what's
she
annoying?
treats Lucian like shit.
She's like, what, he's entitled to like my time is he's my main. I'm like, no, but you maybe just talk to him.
Yeah, maybe just have a
Like it's
conversation.
not his fault either.
Yeah.
What do you mean? She also,
PTSD runs deep in that family.
the thing that bothers me about Elaine is that everyone's like, okay,
Mhm.
Nesta, we need you to master your power. Like you need to be training with Amryn. Like you need to figure out what your power is and how to like use it. No one's bothering Elaine to like figure out her powers.
Yeah.
And hers
Yeah.
are arguably more important.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm like, but everyone's like, protect Elaine. And I'm like, why? She's older than Feyre. Like, make her
Yeah.
grow the fuck up.
Classic middle child.
Like, make her grow up. She brings nothing to the table
Yeah.
other than gardening.
I
Yeah,
love that we're
she's
42 minutes in and we haven't talked about Tamlin yet. In any capacity.
Yeah.
So
Well,
red flag.
red
so
flag.
well, I think let's kind of start from the beginning, go through like through the series and talk about some different things. So, first one is someone wanted to know if we were tricked the first book or if we kind of had an inkling that Tamlin was maybe not the one for her in book one, or did you like end book one and think that they were endgame?
I had a lot of thoughts about this because after I finished book one, like I opened up a like ask me anything or whatever it was. And
Yeah.
everybody was like, what do you think of Tamlin? How would you rate Tamlin was like I think the best question I was asked. And I was like, on a scale of 1 to 10, he's somewhere between a 6 and a 5 or 6.5 and a 7.5.
Mm-hmm.
And my explanation of it, I think, is why a lot of people thought that he wasn't the one, was that under the mountain, he didn't do shit.
Mm-hmm.
But at one point, they talk about him not doing anything because he didn't want to let
Draw.
Amarantha get a
Yeah.
rise out of him.
Mm-hmm.
And to me, that just requires so much self-restraint.
Mm-hmm.
I'm over here thinking, there's no way I'm not doing shit, which I
Right.
guess would make me favorable in most people's eyes. And that the hardest thing for me to do would be to like bite my tongue and not say anything. And so to me, that was actually really commendable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But still, a 6.5 to a 7 is like a character on that
Yeah.
ranking system for me after book one.
Yeah. I mean, I think I genuinely was like, okay, like I get Tamlin. I get it. I get the vibe. And then we got to Under the Mountain, and I was like, okay, well, Reese seems to be doing things. Okay, hear that. And then obviously the last chapter, like when Feyre says bye to Reese and she's like, he gives me that look and then he just flies away. I'm like, they're mates. Obviously
Yeah.
they're mates. No doubt about it. No questions asked. I know where this is going. And so after that I was like, okay, Tamlin's fucking out.
Well, you had also seen fan art of her
That's
being
so
highlighted
true.
in the Night Court.
True,
you
but
had to be
I
predisposed
didn't
to think that.
didn't know. I thought maybe like she had inherited like at that point, like it was so early, I didn't really understand how the courts worked yet.
Got it.
Right.
And so I was like, okay, like maybe she just like goes and like lives there, takes it over. Like I don't know how this works. And so, but like I knew the minute that line was like he gave me that look and then walked away, like his eyes like snapped me. I was like, we've talked about mating bonds before, and this is very reminiscent of a mating bond. And I mean, I don't know, she could have rejected it. I didn't know where it was going. I still really
Yeah.
enjoyed the
Yeah.
the ascension to you're my mate, but
I was kind of like blissfully ignorant. Like I wasn't like, oh, this is totally like who she's gonna be with forever. But I also was like, I don't know. I didn't like feel the vibes for them the whole
Yeah.
time. Like I was just like they didn't really talk.
yeah.
And like he gave her a lot of things and like set her up to paint and like definitely like took care of her. But I'm like, you didn't really talk at all. And so I don't really know why you're so in love.
Yeah. But I mean, even in book 2, when he locks
Yeah.
her up, like that's kind of like the last straw,
Yeah. Oh
you
yeah.
know? You're
I-
like, okay, he's
For,
done.
for sure. And you know what? After book 1, I also did say like I smell a love triangle. So
He did
with
immediately.
with that, it was an end game. But to your point about book 2, and I've said this a couple of times, I don't think Tamlin is a bad person. I think Tamlin is a bad boyfriend,
Mm.
right?
And I think he's a bad boyfriend for Feyre.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like I think
agree.
there are people that would have been super fine with everything.
with the like,
Elaine?
Yeah,
you're so right for that. Yeah, you're so
that
right.
we're
for
gonna
that.
get there later because there are some theories that I would
Okay,
like to
I love
discuss
it.
about it. Okay. Fun question for everyone. Did you solve the riddle?
Yes.
And I think each one of us has a different story about the riddle and like how we approach the riddle. Nicole immediately got it.
Yeah, it was so
Me,
obvious.
Couldn't get it to save my life.
I didn't try to get it. My whole like mindset was I'm gonna get through this book and then I have to read 7 others by the time that Crescent
Couldn't
City
spare
3
a
comes
single
out.
thought for this riddle.
I'll find out when she finds out, and just chugged another 30 pages until I was there. I read it maybe 30 times. Didn't stop to think about it once.
Not a single thought in that head.
Nope.
Nick said no time.
I was like, the Alaskan bullworm is here. There is no way I'm stopping to think about this.
That's like my favorite thing. It's like my most embarrassing fact is that I couldn't get the riddle. I'm just not a riddle guy. Like I'm not really good at riddles, so I am gonna say that's not my strength.
Nick, great question for you. Would you have killed the fairies?
Oh,
I put this one in there just for Nick.
thank you. Thanks for asking. I would have killed all 3 Fae and not thought twice about it. I would not have lost a wink of sleep. Maybe that makes me a sociopath. I don't know. But if the fate of the whole world was in my hands and I had to kill 3 Fae that I've never met before, well, 2, I guess, that I've never met before, it's done on site, and I'm going to sleep like a baby.
It's out of context. The trolley problem. Nick killing 3 Fae to save Kate.
Things I would. Oh yeah,
Not even just me, everyone.
Kate's at the very top of that list, but
He's like, not Kate.
for Chick-fil-A to be open on Sundays, it's gonna be.
What would you
long
do for
list.
a Klondike bar? Kill 3 Fae. Nick is literally reading book 2, and he is like, again, Feyre with the fucking night terrors about these Fae? Is she Nick almost stopped reading.
You saved everyone, and you actually only had to kill 2, so
True.
you got a discount on the whole fucking thing.
It was like, I thought Nick was going to stop reading this series because Feyre kept
that. You know what? That is why 3 is ahead of 2 in my power rankings. Is it the first half of the second book is just her fucking night terrors? Sorry. Not sorry.
Ladies, the bar has been risen. If your man won't kill 3 Fae for you and not lose a wink of sleep, he's not the one.
He's not the one. Nick brought up a good question the other day when we were like, thinking about theories of things that could happen in future books. But what do we think happened to that mercenary from the beginning of the book? Or who was that? Because I don't really feel like we hear anything else about mercenaries. Wait, in my brain.
Well, there are theories that I don't know if we should get into on this episode.
See
episode 4 if you want to know who we're talking about, who we think the mercenary is.
I'll be there, invited or not.
Um okay, I mean the number one question that people wanted us to discuss is chapter 55. Do you have thoughts on chapter 55? And I'm like, obviously we know, or like they're like, do you know about chapter 55? Obviously we know about chapter 55. I can get a chapter 55 tattoo. Everyone knows about it.
Obviously, but you know
Oh,
what? I'll
But
tell you this.
54 is better.
54 is better because
That's the
54 is
one.
better.
That's the one that should have more.
Good soup.
we're not
Yeah.
talking about chapter 54 enough. And this is the same reason is like I am a huge slut for both character POV. Like I love
Yes.
like I want to hear about the man pining and yearning as much as I want to hear about her having a little crush, right? Like I
Yeah.
want to see both sides. And chapter 54 really gives us that insight into what he had been dealing with
Yes.
since the moment, even before he met her, even before he knew she
Mhm.
existed, right? And like that to me was just like, oh, I loved that shit. And so obviously
Chapter
the sexy
54.
little chapter
Yeah.
55 was great with their little finger painting bang. But you know what? Chapter 54 hit me harder.
100%.
She
Justice for chapter 54. It should be above 55 in the power rankings.
for
Agreed.
context, I was such a crackhead reading through these books that we drove up to Quebec and we stopped at a gas station somewhere in New Hampshire, Vermont.
Yeah.
It's snowing out, and I'm like, I'm not putting this book down. So I throw it in Audible, like for chapter 54. And I'm pumping gas and I'm doing whatever I'm doing. And then chapter 55 starts. And Kate knows, right? Because
I'm seeing him. I'm literally like driving and I'm just, and I see it go chapter 55 and he's still on Audible and I go,
she's
I
like,
would
you're gonna
not.
want she's like, you're gonna want to read that. And I'm like, you're so right. I was like a page in and I'm like,
Nick goes,
"Ooh."
I don't think Audible is
Yeah,
right for this. And I was like, I just like,
yeah,
I don't think I could listen to some like voice actor.
Audible
It's
was a
the Quinn
performance
app.
enhancing drug. Like I've been running a lot lately, and
Yeah.
I used to be one of those people where somebody would say like, "Oh, I don't listen to music when I run." And I was like, "You're fucking whacked." Turns out Audible is the best fucking thing in the
Yeah.
world for running.
I do like to listen to audiobooks when I'm like on the treadmill.
Yeah, it's
Because
been
it's just
great.
like you zone out and you don't have to pay attention to how long you've been exercising.
Yeah.
It's great.
Chapter 55, pumping gas. Chapter 55, and I am just
Nick's
fist
pumping
deep
gas and
pumping
Farrah's
gas. Yeah,
pumping Reese.
exactly. I'm
Nick's pumping gas. Reese is pumping into Farrah. Here we go.
yeah. I didn't.
Everyone's
need that.
pumping.
Everyone's pumping.
Everyone's pumping. Somebody's pumping something.
Anyways,
All right, let's
so
get
I
into
feel like,
Aquawar.
yeah. So someone pointed out something. They were like, I don't know if this is just in like the India version of the book, but apparently when Reese dies in ACOTAR, it's on page 666.
Spooky.
Could it mean anything? Who knows?
Who's to
Um,
say?
It might matches up with my conspiracy theory.
mhm. So here's the thing that I am always wondering, and I do have a theory about this. However, I will be bringing it up in our final episode of this series. But Reese and Farrah were saved in the exact same way. They both died, essentially, and the other person kind of hung on to their mating bond. And then all of the other High Lords gave a kernel of power to them and it brought them back. Obviously, when it happened for Farrah, she ended up getting power from all of them, which makes sense because they're giving her power to save her life. But when it happens for Reese, he wakes up and he's like, you'll all be glad to know I only have my power. I didn't get anyone else's. And I want to know why. Why did
likely
he
thing
not?
for him to say though? Maybe
Yeah, he
does.
could be lying. We don't
Yeah.
know.
Part of my
Right?
conspiracy theory.
Because Aquawar, I guess Frost and Starlight is still kind of Feyre's point of view, right?
Yeah.
And we don't really touch that. But then in Silver Flames, which we're going to talk a little bit about later, is like, is Feyre an unreliable narrator? Because we've only heard the story from her point of view, right? And
Yeah.
so, like, we don't know a lot what happens between Feyre and Reese in the last book. So, like, he could technically have other powers. We're just not privy to that
But
information.
also, in Silver Flames, he's learning from Helion to make these shields truly impenetrable. So, like, is he able to do that because he has some of Helian's powers?
Right.
Who knows? So that is a big question mark for me. Is I just really want to know what the deal is there. Do we think that the way that Daddy Archeron dies is a fitting end for him? Like, how do we feel about his like reintroduction back into the series and how he is killed by the King of Hybern, but like comes to save them and brings all the human armies?
I think it was the only fitting end for him. I don't think they needed that catalyst of him dying to like spark Nesta's power. Like
Yeah.
they really needed that. And also like I do appreciate that he brought the armies, but like where did he get them from? Like there's no questions answered about like
Yeah.
where did he go
And
and
how is he the one that found Vasa and like, oh, I'm sorry, Farah, Nesta and Elaine's dad convinced a death god to let a
it's
queen go. I'm like, that is
there's
another
yeah.
But I think
novella I need.
Yeah.
Oh, agreed. Okay, I didn't know you were going that way. You're
I
like
just
pro that. You don't think it's unrealistic.
No, I want to know how it
Okay,
No,
happened.
got
I
it.
just want to know how it happened. I
Right.
just feel like it was just kind of
It's
like in
unrealistic
the
when there's
end
no
he
explanation.
just shows up and he's like, "Hey guys, I actually found all these people." And you know what? This is related to Assassin's Blade, which we'll get into, but it's like, okay, let's write that prequel, Bibs. Let's write
Yeah.
that prequel about how
Right.
we got to where we needed to
Yes.
be because I need answers.
Yes.
Um and so I just I'll tell you this. It bothers me that Nesta gets a lot of the praise for killing the King of Hybern, and she
Yeah.
did not kill him. It was Elaine.
It was Elaine.
Yep.
The only reason Nesta was able to was because Elaine did it. And
Yeah.
that's where I'm like, guys, are we still coddling Elaine?
Yeah.
Like, she killed the King of Hybern.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think that she can do a little more than Garden.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Do we think that Lucian is going to end up as High Lord of the Day Court? Do we
Yes.
think that this is going to happen? And
Yes.
how do we think that's going to
Because
happen?
I think Eris is gonna end up killing Bergen or whatever the fuck his name is. His dad. Is that his name? What's his name?
Baron.
Baron.
Baron. I don't know why Bergen really got
I don't know
me.
why I don't know why.
Bergen. He's going to kill Bergen.
You said it with such confidence though that I was
Me
like,
too.
have
I
I
was
been
like,
saying
me too. I was like, damn,
Hammock
is
or
that it?
Hammett?
It's Hammett season.
Okay, I think Eris is gonna end up because I think Eris is actually a good guy.
Yeah.
And so I don't really have beef with Eris, and so I think he's gonna end up overthrowing Baron, and then he's gonna become the High Lord of the Fall Court, Autumn Court. I don't know why I keep calling it Fall Court and Autumn Court. And Lucian will take over the Day Court. Dawn
Yeah, I
Court?
mean, I think that there's a lot. I mean, like we've talked about, we need so much more information about like what Lucian does and
Yeah.
like where Lucian is and what he's doing because he was doing a lot of like spying. Like
Mhm.
he's a good spy, and I
Mhm.
just feel like there's no way that he A doesn't already know or B isn't gonna like find that out.
Here's
Yeah.
what bothers me though, because if he is Helian's kid, does Helian have any other kids? Do we know?
No.
No, that's why
No.
they're like he would be the sole heir to the
Mhm.
But
Day Court.
Eris has powers, meaning like Eris can flame throw,
Mhm.
Yep.
for lack of a better term.
So can Lucian from his mom.
Right, that makes sense. But does Lucian have powers that he doesn't even know he has?
What remind me what are Helian's powers again?
Honestly, I don't. He can break through wards.
Right.
He
Which
can set wards, and I think it's just. I think most of Helian's is knowledge, but I also don't know if that
He
really
has
comes
air
from like.
manipulation, light generation, curse breaking, shape shifting, and winnowing.
right.
Okay.
The wiki says that Lucian is his son. The
Yeah.
wiki officially says that
There's
he's
no
his son.
doubt. Yeah,
Yeah, I
Um,
wonder if he'll because like Farah says, because Farah has all the powers, and she says that her powers get stronger when she's close to those courts. So she's like, when I was in, she like when she was in the
Winter Court
winter
All right.
running
court,
from Eris.
she got more like of her like ice
Ice.
power.
Because
So
they were
maybe it's
melting the ice and
yeah.
she was
mhm.
So maybe it's Lucian hasn't really tapped into those powers yet because he hasn't been to the day court. And maybe it's like if he went to the day court, then like he would be like, oh shit, what's this?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I feel like
So
you
I
also
don't
have to
so I don't know if this is something that has been proven, or people are putting this on the wiki because he's Helian's son. But under his powers, it says fire manipulation, winnowing, healing, spell cleaving, light generation, air manipulation. So I don't know. I don't remember because haven't reread all of the books specifically. I just read Silver Flames recently, so I don't remember what Lucian's all of his powers are. So
I
I don't
don't
know if he has other ones.
I don't think that we know if there's anything else. But
Yeah.
I think it's proximity. I think if he didn't know that he had those powers, then he might not have like realized them unless he
Right.
gets close to the day court.
Yeah.
Okay. The one question that we got for Frost and Starlight is Frost and Starlight silly or necessary? And I will say it is a fun read. I do think it's necessary to I think that if Frost and Starlight wasn't there, Silver Flames would just be like such a random book.
Yeah.
Like it would just
Like
be like
she could have
the
done a
war ends and all of a
prequel.
sudden Nest is a bitch again. Like
Yeah.
I think that like Frost and Starlight needed to be that bridge to like really like wrap up Feyre and Reese and like segue into Nesta and Cassian and like everyone's mindset after the war before we like got into another big chunk of like action book.
What
I
if?
agree.
But do you think you could read the series? Like, do you think you could read the series and not read 4? Because I do think that the start of 5 is Nessa's got a little PTSD, just like the rest of her family, and
Yeah, well the thing
she.
is I think Sarah had said that she wasn't going to write Silver Flames. Like Frost and Starlight was going to be the end,
Oh, interesting.
and it was just going to be like a follow-up, and then which is why it has the different point of view, like it's like a different writing style because she had written it. But then when she was working on a different book, she started writing Silver Flames. So I think it's very much like it was kind of an afterthought, and that she wrote it as just kind of like a segue in between. But I don't think it's necessary if you wanted to skip it. But like I
Yeah.
liked
Yeah,
it,
I
so
think it's sweet, and I think if you liked 5, then you think that 4 is necessary because it strengthens 5.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, I think it really just like makes 5 better.
I would
yeah.
recommend you read it,
Yeah.
right? But I could also get it if you skipped it.
Yeah.
I couldn't
Okay.
because I want to read every single word that Sarah J Maas writes. I want to
I'm
read
like,
her
there could be
grocery
things in
list.
there, and like, what if book 6 is like completely tied to one thing that we learn in
Oh,
Silver Flames?
I
Who
was
knows?
I was kind of validated today because I'm not reading Throne of Glass before Crescent City 3 comes out.
Mm-hmm.
And I told, fun fact, my work now has a romantasy book club that I kind of like sparked life
Spearheaded.
back into. I wouldn't know. I didn't spearhead it. I was a little
They
late.
created the channel
I was
because
late
of
to.
you.
They created a thread 6 months ago. I searched in Slack ACOTAR and then found this thread and was like, "So book club." And now we're like deep in like a 16-person micro group at work. But somebody at work told me today that SJM says ACOTAR, Crescent City, then Throne of Glass. If you're like, they're all out and you can read them now, that's the order you should read them in.
Yeah, I mean, we've had this discussion. Like, I think there are certain things that you should know, but it's not imperative. Like, we can fill you in if
Yeah.
you have questions.
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, that'll be fine at least for the summit. But I
Yeah.
Yeah.
guess,
I'm
Yeah.
glad you were validated about that, though.
Yeah.
Nervous.
yeah, meaning like I'm gonna read Throne of
SJM
Glass.
validated all of us. Huh. She validated all of
Sure
us.
Did
fucking
she?
did. We'll get into that in our
Yeah.
Throne of Glass episode, but yeah, she did.
Great.
Okay. Silver Flames. It's time for Nicole's favorite book. And I know Nicole's answer. Does Nesta deserve forgiveness for how she treated Feyre?
I think it depends. I think everyone deserves some forgiveness. I think forgiveness is dependent on whether you change your actions, and I think by the end of the book we've actually really seen Nesta like reflect on how she was and like actually change her behavior towards Feyre and the inner circle, and so I think that that values a worthy forgiveness.
Feyre also wants to forgive Nesta,
Yeah.
I think, right?
Yeah.
Like putting her in the
Yeah.
situation where she was like they held the intervention and the
Mhm.
conversations that they had through that were very much like, dude, I love you. I just want you to be good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So some people will say no because Nesta was always such a see you next Tuesday, but I think For me, like, you know, you always say like, okay, sorries don't matter if your actions like never change after you apologize. And so
Mhm.
for me, I'm like, all right, we saw what Nesta went through. We saw her inner turmoil. Like, she wasn't being a bitch to be a bitch for no reason. Like, she was clearly going through something, and I know Feyre knew that, and all she wanted was for Nesta to have that breakthrough so that she could move forward with their relationship.
Yeah. Yeah. Just a fun little question, but what smutty books do you think Nesta would like that we've read?
She's totally reading The Ritual.
Was that the bad one that you guys read?
Yeah, it was
Yes.
You were listening to the
horrible.
audiobook next to me on the treadmill.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that book was so fucking bad.
So bad.
I think Nessa really, really would enjoy Emily Henry books.
Yeah.
You know what I don't think she would enjoy? Most Sarah J Maas books. Not smutty enough for Nesta.
True.
So true.
True.
So true.
I was expecting more smut.
Nessa's reading 50 Shades of Grey for sure.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
50
She's
Shades of
into it.
Illyrian Wings.
She's trying. She's like, Cassian, bring me to the red room for sure. For sure.
I mean, his siphons are red, so it really
Makes
works.
Did I say this to this? Like Sarah or Farah has sex and Nesta fucks, or did I say that
Yeah.
to somebody
Yeah,
else?
you
Yeah,
did.
yeah.
Like, I don't know who else I would have said that to. But.
Yeah. Well,
Nick is really discussing this with people.
he's in the work channel, in his work Slack. He's talking about
Yeah.
Yeah,
for sure.
in the work Slack, Feyre has sex, Nesta fucks. Am I right, guys?
Fist bump emoji.
screaming. Okay, I talked about this a little bit, but I don't have beef with Eris. Like, I think
Yeah,
that
me
Eris
neither.
is a good guy. I am so excited to find out what actually went down between him and Moore.
Same.
Mhm.
So excited to get that answer.
I know.
First more reference of our hour and 10 long episode.
Yeah, interesting.
And I love more, although I'm not her type. I would have not been mad about being somebody she slept with to
Keep Azrael away.
well, no, not to keep Raz. Well, is that what she was doing it for?
Pretty much.
No, because she also, well, she slept with Cassian so that she would lose her
Right.
virginity, so that she couldn't be with
Wouldn't have to
Eris.
be with Eris.
Right.
But then she said that
She
sometimes
slept with
when
Helion too, and then it
Mhm.
was like, you look so dissatisfied, and
Because-
she's like, "Yeah, why do you think?"
But she did that because Azrael was like so
Mhm.
Yeah.
apparent about his feelings for her. It's always
You're right.
like if Az gets too close.
Which
she-
I don't know. It's not like, it doesn't feel
Sacrifice
like
me.
being gay is like a thing that you can't be in Prythian. So I don't know why she wasn't just like, obviously I love
Right.
women. Like, what's going on there?
It's, you know what, sometimes it's a little internal thing.
I know, but it doesn't even feel like that would be a thing that would be a problem in
think
Prythian, right?
that
Like, it shouldn't
she-
be an internal
Right.
thing, because like at no point has Sarah set up a homophobic like
Yeah.
Right.
community,
Well, I think
societal norm.
well, yeah, also because Thesian from the Dawn Courts.
Yeah.
But
He's fucking and sucking everything.
no, that's Helion.
Oh, that is
Thesian
Helion.
is the
That
one that
is Helion.
Thesian is the one that has his like main guard is his lover.
Mm.
But okay, but the thing that Moore said, because Feyre basically said that, and she was like, I really don't think anyone, especially in
Right.
Valeris, would care. And she was like, no one would. She's like, it's just because she grew up in Court of Nightmares, and that was like her whole thing was like to be bred and like
That's
married
so
off.
like her.
And so I
Yeah.
think it's just like the inner like trauma of that. And she's like, and now it's just been so long that I've been living in this that it's like hard to admit it. And I feel like she probably doesn't want everyone to think that she lied to them for so long, or like I think that's probably like easier for her this way. But I mean, she's definitely fucking some women in Valahan, wherever she
Oh,
is.
Yeah, I
for
was
sure.
like, do you think we think she's taken a lover in those foreign lands?
Absolutely.
Of course.
Yeah,
Because that's what she did before. That's when she like found out.
Oh, that's true.
Because that queen.
I was gonna say something. I just can't remember what it was.
I don't know. Okay, here's a thing that a lot of people have brought up in Silver Flames is why Rhys and Feyre's personalities seem so different. And I think now we can really get into like reliable versus unreliable narrator, because I think I think the reason that they seem so different and Reese seems like more of an asshole is because it's from
It's
Nesta's
not
point of
from
view,
Feyre's point of view,
and
yeah.
Nesta fucking hates Reese
Yeah. Yeah,
for
of
a
course.
while.
Because she can't
So
be glamored.
Yeah. Yeah. True.
so
Nick,
I
that's
think
very
that
true.
Part of my conspiracy theory.
So I think that that's, I mean, everyone's like, why did his personality change so much? Like, why is he such an asshole? And I'm like, because Nesta's telling the story and Nesta doesn't
Yeah.
like him. So
Yeah.
obviously, the way that he says things is going to be construed differently through her
Yeah.
lens. But
100%.
now we can get into the narration.
Yeah, I just think that with like it's just unreliable narrator. Feyre is just like obviously very in love with Reese, and like even it switches up with Tamlin from book 1 to book 2. Like you start to see the shift in how she talks about Tamlin, and so it's like, okay, well, clearly she's losing her, rose-colored glasses for Tamlin, and now it's like, okay, she loves Reese, and so I think we just see a different point of view, which is it'll be interesting in the next ACOTAR book if we have this same writing style, because it went from first person to third person.
Yeah, it threw me off so much. I
Which is
forgot it did
very
that.
weird. So I'll be curious to see how she continues to write the books from here on out, and if it still is kind of an unreliable narration situation.
Yeah. Nick?
Unreliable.
No, bring your theory in. It's time.
You just said Nick. Anyway. Okay. So, where do I start with this?
Okay, well, what is the headline?
Reese is actually 15,000 years old.
Okay.
What is the name of the hunt? What is it actually
Wild
formally
Hunt.
called? The Wild Hunt. So you get this backstory about the Wild Hunt
Mm-hmm.
when Nesta is stealing the harp from name that I will not be able to pronounce.
Yep.
They go back, they ask Reese about it, and Reese, who seems to have a wealth of knowledge, is like, yeah, there have been mumblings about it, but
I thought it was a bedtime story.
right, exactly. I think he was there, right? Context, his like beast form, monster form is representative of what
The Wild Hunt was.
no, not the wild. Well, yeah, I guess what the Wild Hunt was, but not just what the Wild Hunt was, but in the
Court of Nightmares.
thank you, Jesus. So many places, people, things. Is one of the statues in
Mm-hmm.
the Court of Nightmares, right? That beast form is the same from the description of what happened in the Wild Hunt.
Right.
And so I actually think that Reese knows exactly what went down in the Wild Hunt. I think that he was there. Most people don't have bad opinions of or don't think poorly of Reese,
Mm-hmm.
but he can manipulate minds. He
Mm-hmm.
can glamour things and fashion things in a certain way, plant ideas in your head, melt your brain.
He's the most powerful High Lord in history.
Mm-hmm.
So people might not be able to know. Like,
Yeah.
people might not notice.
Right. So that's my conspiracy theory. I actually think that he's like
Okay, but
well,
do you think Reese is evil?
the question I think we were asked was morally gray.
Mm.
And even that I think is kind of an understatement. So maybe it's not that he's evil
Because
currently,
I've seen theories that Reese is like a bad guy.
but I think that well, actually, I don't know that I'll go as far as to say that I don't think he's evil currently. But yeah, I think that he has the potential to be evil.
Because like
Uh,
I think I'm on the side that Elaine is evil, actually.
sure.
And she's going down a dark path. And that's why she's off. And Azrael is not really in love with her. He's just keeping tabs on her because
Ooh.
he knows what she's been up to, because she's always off at her little garden. They're like, where's Elaine? Where's Elaine been all this time? We don't know. Like, she's off doing her own thing, and she's so meek and mild, and we have no reason to distrust her. But I think that she hates the Fae so much. Don't forget, she literally was going to marry what's his name, who like, and she had her iron engagement ring and the whole 9 yards. And so I think that she is secretly working with the queens, the human queens, to be an inside spy.
I like
I
it.
like that.
Yeah, there's like a lot of questions, and we got a lot of these questions of people being like, people don't like Elaine, and like, why do people think that Elaine is bad? And I think that's like exactly it. And there was a very notable moment, and like, obviously, we know Sarah J. Maas does not write things for no reason. Like, every interaction is for a reason.
Mm-hmm.
And so nothing is just like filler content. And there's a part in Silver Flames when they are at the like the river house or something, and something happens, and I think it's Cassian's point of view that's like, oh, and Elaine gave like a weird excuse to not be there or something, which she usually reserved for when Lucian was around.
Mm-hmm.
But as far as I know, Lucian wasn't there, and so it was like weird that she was being so like cagey.
Mm-hmm.
And she said that she had to like wake up early to like go help an elderly couple with their garden or something.
Right.
And so like I feel like that was like the Easter egg to be like, someone is thinking Elaine's being sketchy, but we're gonna skate past it because it's Elaine. But like, remember that.
Mm-hmm.
So
I and it's a similar because I've also seen Azrael as evil, and it's just I think it's because we are just missing so many pieces of the puzzle when it comes to their
yeah,
character development. And it can really go either way, but I would love to see one of the perfect sisters be actually on the other side. Like I
and
would
have it
love,
be like everyone would have thought that it was Nesta,
yeah,
and have it be like the perfect,
yeah,
nice,
would
sweet
love it.
one. Yeah, it would be huge.
And Nick, there are other theories about why I think Reese is evil, but we can't talk about them here. We'll have to talk about them once you finish Throne of Glass.
Okay.
But yeah, so I think that there's a lot of there's a lot of moving pieces and
Yeah,
people's characters can go either way right now. So I'm excited to see what
yeah, I can't
happens.
wait. So here's a question: at that, like at the end of Silver Flames, basically the book ends with Nesta using all three members of the Dread Trove to save Feyre's life, like stop time, save Feyre's life, and then she comes out and she says, "I gave
The power
it
back.
back, my
I
power,
take it all back.
but the mother let me keep some of it." Sounds familiar.
Hmm.
But I don't like, so I don't have as much power. Do we think all of her power really is gone, or like where do we think her power is now going to go? It
Well, don't
feels also
forget,
very reminiscent of Amryn being like, I gave this up, but now I have like, so like what do we think is going to go from there for her?
don't forget. Now Nesta has a tattoo on her back as a bargain with the cauldron. Okay?
Right.
She has made a bargain with the cauldron. So the cauldron will be able to call in a favor at some point. I'm
Yeah.
thinking that that's going to have to do with her getting her power back because the cauldron's going to need her to be able to
Mm,
pull some shit with the kernel of power that she has. So I think she's going to get it back at some point. Also, I have theories about why she's going to get her power back, contingent on episode 4. So there are things that I want to say about that, but I think
this is
there
all basically telling you guys you have to read all these
sorry, you
books
have to read
about
all the
me.
books if you want to know our crock pot theories. Um I just like she has that kernel of power, and also don't forget there's a fourth item in the trove
What
that
happens if she gets her hands on it?
what
Who
happens
knows?
if what
And
Are there
she
happens
other
just
back tattoos related to it?
and she just created a whole new trove.
Mhm. So I think that there is still so much of Nessa's power
Yeah,
stewing, but I also think even that kernel
it's
is
probably
an
gonna be a
immense
lot.
amount of power
Yeah,
that she has.
yeah. Um, all right, we're gonna get into some tin hat as if we haven't already, but these are more just like overarching questions, theories, predictions. Now that the books have not wrapped, but at the end of the series, we've gotten confirmation there are going to be at least 3 more books
Mhm.
in the A Court of Thorns and Roses. Um, so Asriel, we obviously like don't totally know anything about him, but there are like 2 schools of thought here: Asriel and Elaine,
Mhm.
and Asriel and Gwyn.
Mhm.
Especially because there is that bonus chapter
Yep.
where he wants to give Elaine a necklace for Solstice, and Reese is basically like,
Shut it
don't
down.
shut it down. And then he ends up going to the library and having Clotho give it to
Did
Gwen.
Nick, did you read that?
I don't think Nick read the bonus chapter. I'll need
Okay.
to
No,
send
I
it
did
to you.
not read the bonus
I'll need
chapter.
to send it to you. It's Asriel's point of view.
Okay,
So I'll
cool.
send that to you.
So
But
basically, he wants to give Elaine a necklace for Solstice. Reese says Lucian is her mate. He is a key, like ally. Like you can't be fucking around like this. Azriel's like, that's not fucking fair. You have a mate. Cassian has a mate. Why don't I get a sister as a mate? And Reese is like, stop fucking crying about it. I don't give a shit. Go somewhere else and whine. And then he goes up to the training pit. Gwen is there. They have a little moment. He gives the necklace to Gwen.
he like
Oh,
has
I don't know
Clotho.
any of this.
He has Clotho give it to Gwen, but
Yeah.
says like, don't tell her who it's from.
This is
Yeah.
like mid training, like mid Valkyrie.
So it's Solstice. It's the Solstice.
After Silver Flames.
So like the Silver Flame, one where it's where
When Nesta
Cassian and
decides.
Nesta decide that they're like
Because
mates.
Az gets Nesta a gift too, right?
He gets her the little light, which
Yeah.
apparently Kate needed when she
I
was
needed
reading
that.
these books.
Yeah. So yeah, there's people and obviously like they have history because Asriel is the one that saved Gwen from
The
the
temple.
yeah.
I'm following.
So who would you rather? I mean, obviously we think Elaine is probably evil, so like I would rather Gwen, but
Well, I think
I
it's
don't think that we've met his mate.
I'm not sure. I think out of the two, I'd rather have it be Gwen because I think he's a shadow singer, she's a light singer.
Mhm.
And his shadows really like open up around her. So
Yeah.
I like that aspect and I think that they kind of bring the best out of each other. But I think Elaine's either going to be Lucian or Tamlin. I don't want her to touch Azriel. It's just too cookie cutter perfect. Like
Yeah.
three sisters for the three brothers. Absolutely not. Get it out of here. I don't want it to be that
It's
predictable.
starting to
And
be
it
incestuous.
makes it so much cleaner for
Yeah.
your conspiracy.
Yeah.
Yeah. So then so you bring up Tamlin. And so there are people that like obviously like throughout the books, like starting at book 1, Feyre's like Elaine would love the spring court. Like the spring court is made for her and like she's always described as wearing like dusty pink rose colored gowns and she's like so spring and whatever. And so there are people that are like, okay, maybe she's actually Tamlin is supposed to be Tamlin's mate, or like they're supposed to end up together. And I saw this the other day and I was like, ooh, I'm kind of obsessed with this. So obviously, book 1, A Court of Thorns and Roses, is based on Beauty and the Beast.
Mm-hmm.
But there are people that are like, honestly, Tamlin is more set up for a Beauty and the Beast story right now than he was then. Like now he's fully like they're like he's
beast
only in his
form.
beast form.
Yeah.
Everyone's gone.
Everyone's
run
gone.
down.
The manor is in disrepair. Like it's like as bleak as it could be. Like yes, there was a curse in book 1. That's like super on the nose. But they're like he's more in like the mental state of Beauty and the Beast at this point, and Elaine is like constantly everyone's like, oh, I heard your sister Elaine was the beauty. She's like always referred to as the beauty, and he is referred to even by Feyre as the beast. And like I just think there's like a lot of thoughts that like that could actually be. And I saw a theory also that Lucian might be lying that that's his mate and it might be Tamlin,
Oh.
and he was like doing that almost to like
Yeah.
protect Tamlin, and like
Yeah, I like that.
because he knew that Tamlin was in love with Feyre and he might not like understand it. And so he like Lucian said something or like he and Tamlin have some bond or something, but some people think that they're not actually mates and that Lucian and then it's actually Tamlin.
Elaine also had that like I want to go see the tulips on the continent. Like there's so much spring.
Yeah.
Well,
That's crazy.
there's even a line in Silver Flame. So the first time Nesta and Cassian go to Springcourt to meet with Eris in secret, There's her inner thought she looks around, she goes, wow, Elaine would be so happy here, she would love this place, like
Yeah.
this was made for Elaine. So and like Feyre even mentions, like when she's there, she's like, wow, Elaine would love living here. Like there's
Yeah.
just so many mentions of Elaine being spring court, that it feels kind of like her destiny to end up there.
Yeah. So that is a very fun theory that I think would muddy the waters a little
A
bit,
little bit.
but would be very fun.
Wow, your sister marries your ex-boyfriend? Crazy.
Maybe
Crazy.
that's just like the only thing that makes her bad.
True. True.
I mean, similarly, like speaking of Tamlin, do we think, first of all, do we think that his redemption arc really was a redemption arc, or do we think that he's going to still get one?
Tamlin has not had a redemption arc yet. No way, no how.
Well, I think people
I
are like,
mean,
well,
he
he
helped out a
helped
little bit
out.
during the war, but I think he has some real
But
penance.
he's part of the reason why Reese was brought back, and I feel like that is a little bit of a redemption arc. Like, not me. I'm couldn't be me. I would
No,
be the seventh of seven saying, "Nope, sorry,
I
he's dead."
want him to have a redemption arc like Nesta had. Like I want him
Yes.
to like fully repent. Like I want him to
Yeah.
really think about the damage that he did, and like
Yeah.
he's in his lashing out phase right now, and he needs to be like, I'm sorry, like we need to work
And
together,
maybe
like
he needs someone like Elaine.
to soften him.
Yeah. Um, so last couple things here. What character's point of view do we want in the next book? If we could pick two people to have
Azrael
the
and
next
Elaine.
book focus on. What?
Azrael and Elaine. Because I just don't know anything about them.
Yeah.
I want to know
I think
more.
that like is the only thing that makes sense.
I'm one of my two is Lucian.
Or
I want a
Lucian.
That's
Lucian
true,
I
yeah.
want to
scenario.
know what Lucian's up to too. So
But
maybe
do we
like
think that if
Lucian
we
and
got,
Azrael.
or do we think that if we got an Elaine point of view, maybe we would get some more
Yeah.
information on
I'm
Lucian?
okay with
That's why.
splitting that book in half and half.
Mm-hmm.
So I think because she said that she wants to do like each of the sisters
I
like points of
think
view,
she's
right?
confirmed that it's like Elaine's book next. So I think we're getting.
And I think then it would make sense to do like the sister and the brother. But also,
Mhm.
does that mean that they're going to be together? Who knows?
Who
Because right
knows?
now, the two people whose like points of view it is are about, they end up together.
Mm-hmm.
So
Break the cycle.
I don't know. All right. And the last thing here is, are there any other crazy theories that we have not said here that we would like to discuss?
How much time you got?
2 minutes.
No, I don't have anything else.
Headlines.
Not for 2 minutes.
I've seen that Gwen is also evil. Lots of evil theories.
So one of the main characters needs to have like an evil
Someone
turn.
has to be evil.
Yeah.
Not Gwen. I love Gwen.
I know, I love Gwen too. Well, who do we think Gwen's dad is?
Yeah. Is Lucian or Tamlin Gwen's dad? Because Gwen was conceived on Calamai.
The Great Right?
Oh yeah,
Mm-hmm. And
sure.
so actually, yeah, so it's I don't know if it's
Or
there.
is there a Great Right in other places too?
I don't think so though,
Because they
because
don't call it Callan
They
Mai.
don't. That's
They
true.
don't call it Callan Mai. She said my mom participated in the Great Right, but they don't say where. And I'm pretty sure that like where she was not Spring Court, like where that where Sangraval was in like it was in the Night Court.
I'm googling it.
okay, each High Lord must perform the Great Rite, which consists in allowing powerful magic to enter their bodies and seize control of them. So I guess you're right. We don't know, but I think people are, because of her red hair, people are assuming that it was Autumn Court.
Yeah, but also people I think are they said that they just assume Sangraval is in the Night Court because Asriel and Moore were the ones to like rescue her, but I guess we don't know exactly.
Well, like the act, what you're thinking about at Calanmai, like people have other rights, but it's not. I think the same practice is what I'm reading now too, where it's like the Night Court has Starfall. Doesn't mean that they're
Mm-hmm.
sacrificing virgins there.
Hmm.
Okay, someone just said, "Oh, here's good." Um I think Sangrava's right has to be different than Spring's Great Right. Callan Mai seems to be based off Callan Mai in Wales, which is celebrated on May 1st. In an interview, Sarah J Maas told someone that she gave Asriel's love interest the same birthday as her, which is in January. If Sangrava's right was the Great Right in the Spring Court, it would mean that Gwen's conception was May, making January birthdays as unlikely as Faye's pregnancies are 10 months. So I'm thinking Sangrava's right is held in March and possibly not located in Prythian at all, considering Gwen never mentioned her mother or if her mother or she and her sisters being from somewhere.
Yeah.
We know that Ianthe was able to flee Amarantha's reign by crossing the ocean, so maybe Sangrava was located in one of those territories and could be another reason Sarah J Maas left certain things off the map of the continent. She may have wanted to keep the location of Sangrava a mystery, which also makes sense because when Lucian spoke of where Rhys's rug had come from, it sounded as if it were of a foreign make, something not locally bought.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Because also someone said, keep in mind that Gwen is only 28, which means that a lot of people would have been trapped under the mountain at the time that she was conceived. And someone said, I honestly think it might be Lucian, since he's been living at the Spring Court for so long and attended their rite, and their hair sounds similar. Also, when Nesta talks about Gwen's voice glowing, could that be through Lucian, as his biological father is Helion? So putting the pieces together. But yeah, I would love to know more. It's a shame that her twin sister is dead. And we don't know much about her.
Huge shame.
Such a shame.
Such a shame that her sister is dead. Yeah, I mean, there are so many theories that we could like literally go on and on and on and on and on about, but I think
you'll have to, if you've read all the books, you'll have to come to episode 4 and hear all of our absolutely batshit insane theories, because that's where it's really cooking.
Like tinfoil hat conspiracy theories. That'll be episode 4 of this little mini series offshoot. And then maybe after that, like maybe after Crescent City 3 comes out, we host just like a Zoom with everyone on it. We all discuss.
Yeah, would love that.
So. I'll bring the GoPro to the summit. We could just
live stream.
Yeah,
us reading.
Perfect. All right, fam. Over and out.
Fun.
Over and out. We'll see.
If we missed anything, let us know. Let us know your thoughts on The Court of Thorns and Roses, and if you have any differing theories from us, or agree with us or disagree with us, or things that we didn't come up with, you let us know.
Let us know, because we're very eager to talk about
this. Always. So. This is like the most fun podcast episode we've done, because it's literally just, I just want to talk about this all the time.
So we'll see you for Throne of Glass.
See you for Throne of Glass.
Bye.
Bye.